now be recorded.
Jeff. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Kathy Binder. Right now I serve as the chair of the Service Authority, and I've sort of been in an acting role as the interim general manager since January. So I thank you all for coming, and this is a informational session and a Q&A. So I've introduced myself, so I want to introduce our new county administrator, Mr. Matt Smolnick. He's right here in the front. He's been with us, a couple months now, and he's been doing great work, and we appreciate him being here. Mr. Norm Rasavi, who's our senior assistant to the Board of Supervisors, and one of my colleagues now calls him the Fog King. But we appreciate his help and all his years of experience that have helped us move the Service Authority in a better direction. Now, after that, we're going to do a little overview. We ready, Chris? President? All right, so what I got up here, that's a pic on the side. That was a hop yard. So this is Perkins Corners wastewater treatment plant. And this is what we're talking about, some of that fog. You can see it from afar. I'm going to have Norm come up and give a little more information. I just wanted to show you these slides first. Can we show the next slide? That's another picture, a little closer in. It's not supposed to look like that. And then here we go. Here's our fats, oils, and grease. A good representation of it, and we'll explain a little bit more about that. Norm, can you come up and give a little bit of a background on what this is and why it's very important to correct it for our service authority?
Well, basically, the FOG program was implemented in response to the Clean Water Act of 1972. There are certain constituents and so forth that are not allowed to be transmitted into, in this case, the sewer systems. And I'm going to let Bowden explain it in a little bit more detail. But basically, it disrupts the operation of a treatment plant. And so what you see there, it's hard to separate the greases and the oils from the treatment plant, and it has an adverse effect on the biological agents in the plant. So that's why it's critical. And what our interest is basically working with all the food service providers to try to work cooperatively to minimize the impact of these type of things. But you would think it wouldn't be very serious, but I've seen many people, restaurants are on septic systems, and when they get the bill of having to repair all of their plumbing and so forth, then people get much more serious about it. So as some of you may know, the authority here has had to pay fines over the years and so forth, and they're an extensive process of, they have $20 million in grants to do upgrades and improvements. And so this is one aspect of that that's critical to attempt to get us sort of in compliance with DEQ so that these fines and extensive issues in dealing with them are no longer a problem. And I think Bowden will be able to explain in more detail the technical aspects of this and the effect on the treatment plant.
Thank you, Norm. I mean, fats, oils, and grease is really important. You wouldn't think of right away of how important it is, but especially for our two plants that are the two older plants, Perkins Corner and Oakland Park, that we will be taking offline and decommissioning. I mean, for Perkins, it's causing a lot of the violations due to the plant just can't handle the amount of fats, oils, and grease that's going in there. It kills the bugs, and Bowden can explain a little bit more on that process. Can we go to the next slide? Now, this is a graph, and Mr. Bowden, could you come up and explain this graph before your section? Because you do much better explaining this than I do. And this has to deal with Perkins Corner. This is Mr. Mark Bowden.
Hello, folks. Good to be with you all tonight. So this graph, what it represents is some effluent constituents that we monitor on a frequent basis, depending on permit level requirements. And so this graph represents TKN, which stands for total kilojoule nitrogen. It's a nitrogen species that we monitor at the treatment plant. If all is going well, the nitrogen species that we monitor should be baseline around the 1.4, 1.5 mark. As you can see, this graph covers the month of July when we were having the extensiveness of this issue. And at the beginning of the July monitoring period, we had various elevations of this TKN in our final effluent. That red dot, that signifies when the grease program was initiated, when inspections were started, when some problems that were found were resolved. And you can see just the positive effects that mitigating fats, oils, and grease in our collection system has. It's called point sourcing, and it was very beneficial. And I'll get into other details in my future presentation here.
Thank you very much. Especially on Perkins, we have had a number of violations this year because of those nutrient limits, and a lot of it does also deal with the Chesapeake Bay Act. And we want to get it in compliance, and this is one of the things that, yes, we should have been taking care of earlier. It's something you don't even realize about it, but we're implementing it now. We've talked a lot extensively with the Hampton Roads Sanitation District, which is considered the gold standard of a lot of sanitation programs. They've helped us out to craft our ordinance so that we can do better. And with all your cooperation, I think we can turn all these plants, especially these two plants that we're decommissioning, but we have to run them in all the proper nutrient levels until we can get them offline. That with your help, we can have the successful operation of the plants. We have hired a fog inspector. Rich is back there. You'll be seeing him. His hand is up. You'll be seeing him coming around to your establishment. We've hired him. He has previous experience in another state doing this, and we really appreciate him coming to help us out. Mr. John Eisenbeiss, who's the head of our maintenance, who has done a lot of work with us, especially about I&I and snaking through some of these pipes, which you'll see in a minute. A representative sample of in Bayberry where the grease, oils, and fats is kind of collected over the years, and we're going to be addressing that by back truck, or as I got back jet, to get that out of here. So can you forward ahead? So that's a screenshot from wastewater pipe scope from the beginning of August, and you can see that's not supposed to look like that. That's supposed to look like a clear pipe, but it's got that fat, oils, and grease. Next slide, please. And then one last picture. This is an example that I visited in February of the Hop Yard lift station. So it's not just businesses, it's also residences. Those that are out there watching, please understand it'll even hurt your personal, if you're on well and wastewater yourself, have your own septic field. It can damage if you dump grease and oil down there. So don't put it in a can, throw it away. If you're on the system, please throw it in a can, throw it away. Don't put it down the system, because this is at Hop Yard. This is a residence, and you still have some of that residue. So it's really important to look at that. It kind of is a shocking example of over the years what this can do in the buildup, and that has to be cleaned to get it all out. So I'm going to bring up now Imboden Environmental Services, Mr. Mark Imboden, who we contract for the Service Authority to help us operate the plants.
All right, so we have a presentation on impacts of fats, oils, and grease on wastewater treatment. And while Mr. Chris is getting that queued up, a little introduction to what our company does. Our company, we're a contract operations firm, and we're based out of Mount Jackson, Virginia. And we operate water and wastewater utilities across the state. And we see fats, oils, and grease to be a problem no matter where we go. This is not something that is new just to King George County. This is prevalent in every utility across Virginia, across America. And fats, oils, and grease can be a huge burden to wastewater treatment plant operations. I have no hold music for you. So thought it'd be best to give everyone an overview of the impacts that fats, oils, and grease, FOG, as the acronym comes to be, has on wastewater treatment. So if you can go to the next slide, it's best to understand the impacts when we have a good conceptual basis of what wastewater treatment is and how it is done. And so on the next slide, I have essentially a breakdown of that information. We'll go ahead and go to the second slide. All right, we got it. Thank you, Chris. All right, so wastewater treatment can be characterized in really three different ways. And you treat wastewater by one of these three ways or a combination of all three. So you have a chemical process, a physical process, or a biological process. And residential community wastewater treatment systems, we use all three combined into one. The Perkins Corner wastewater treatment plant has chemical coagulants that we feed to sequester nutrients, to pull those out, to settle the sludge properly. It has physical properties where we use the effects of gravity to provide solid liquid separation from the process to have clarified clear water flow over the weir and out to the discharge. And then we also use a biological process. And the biological process is the primary mode of oxidizing or breaking down organic matter, those constituents in our wastewater treatment plant. And so we manipulate different strains, different types of heterotrophic, autotrophic, facultative bacteria to do this process. I have here a kind of a flow diagram of the wastewater treatment process. And so it starts with a screening process, which is very much a physical process where we take out any grit, any rags or debris or anything that we receive from the wastewater treatment plant that would be detrimental to our pumps and mixers downstream. We take all of that out, and that is then put into a compactor that essentially allows it to dewater, and then we transfer that to the landfill. After that, some treatment plants, this is just a generic overview, some treatment plants have a primary settling tank, but that is not always the case. At the Perkins Corner treatment plant, it essentially goes into the aeration tank after influent screening and equalization. The aeration tank, that's our biological process. And so we have a big tank that has the mixed liquor in it. The picture that you saw that Kathy explained, that is the aeration chamber. And so we provide air, we provide the right living conditions for this bacteria, and we cultivate them, we let them grow, we call the herds, and so to speak, if you know what that means, if you ever worked with livestock, if we have too much bacteria. And so we maintain a proper biomass for biological treatment. After that, we have the settling process, which allows the solids to settle out. They're returned back to the head of the process, and then the clarified water is disinfected, or it is then filtered or discharged. All right, we'll go ahead and go to the next process or the next slide. And so let's talk about the sources of fats, oils, and grease. They're very common in wastewater. I do not know an influent waste stream outside of an industrial process that would not have fats, oils, and grease. But all of the wastewater, the influent, we must take great care to reduce how much we receive. You're never going to get 100% removal, but we have to at least point source and manage the removal of fats, oils, and grease and eliminate them from our influent sources. So they come from cooking oils, from food scraps, from personal care products. And you might think food scraps and personal care products. Well, if we think about it, these fats, oils, and grease, it's vegetative and it's also an animal fat. And so as they're rendered down through the cooking process or they're in an anaerobic condition in a lift station, they're going to break down even further. And then a lot of the fats and the oils that were in the vegetables and in the animal fat, they're going to render out. And what happens is you have a pretty detrimental effect on the infrastructure of the wastewater treatment system and collection systems. And the reason why it is such a detrimental effect is because it's nonpolar, which means it does not mix well with water. Water is a universal solvent, but it cannot dissolve something that is hydrophobic. It doesn't like water, it wants to be outside of water. And so you get blockages in pipes, you get these big fatbergs that can clog pumps, clog mixers, clog other pipes that convey the sewage. They congeal, and it can cause overflows. It can cause permanent exceedances, like we saw in the graph before. It can really wreak havoc on a wastewater utility. All right, next slide. So let's talk about the impacts of fog on a wastewater plant. We already talked about blockages and overflows. And so as the fats, oils, and grease, say you dump some fryer grease, or there's grease that is rendered out in a pan, and it's a liquid form. But if you dump that down the drain, it's going to harden eventually, especially if it comes in contact with other cooler water sources that are in the wastewater stream. And so this will lead to sanitary overflows, blocked pipes, blocked pumps, failed systems, and it can also cause environmental impacts as well. Also, treatment inefficiency. Let's talk about two different ways that it can cause inefficiency and disrupt our wastewater process. And so what fats, oils, and grease do to a wastewater process, we talked about the wastewater treatment process. It's a biological process, right? And so if fats, oils, and grease are present, it creates a barrier between the water and the food source and the bacteria. So if the bacteria cannot get to the food source, it's not going to be able to treat. And if we starve the bacteria that we are trying to cultivate, the improper or the bacteria that we do not want will actually thrive. The conditions will be non-favorable for the bacteria we're trying to select for, and we'll have bad bacteria essentially be proliferated in the wastewater treatment plant. And that reduces the effectiveness of the treatment process. It can also, I didn't put this here, but it also changes the polarity of our solids. So we talked about how bacteria is hydrophobic, and if those hydrophobic particles encapsulate a lot of the solids or other bacteria, it'll actually make the solids buoyant, and it will clog our filters. It will also cause high solids content in our effluent discharge stream. And so a lot of different scenarios that can happen, but this presentation was really designed to just kind of showcase what it is that causes the concern for the utility for the wastewater treatment plant itself. It will, and it has, and it does cause permanent exceedances. So that is, I believe that's all the slides I have, but I would be more than happy to take any questions about what I just presented on. If none, I will hand it back to Kathy. Sure.
You end up, I guess, processing it through and straining it out. So clear water goes back where?
So the clear water, after the treatment process, that is then discharged by our permit. We have the ability to discharge to a receiving stream.
And
a receiving stream would be a creek or a river, or a bay, or some sort of tributary to the Chesapeake Bay.
Okay. And then the matter that is left, what do you do with that?
So that's an excellent question. So there is always going to be residual solids. That's what we call it in the industry. Those residual solids, they're collected essentially in a special tank called a digester. And it essentially allows the anaerobic process to break down the solids even more. We concentrate them. So we aerate it. We have times where we aerate it, or times where we do not aerate it. We thicken the sludge that's in that tank, and then eventually it has to get pumped out. And when we pump it out from our Perkins wastewater plant, we haul that over to our Dahlgren facility. We have a device there called a sludge press, where we essentially squeeze the water out of the solids, and that solids becomes a dry cake, and that gets transported to the landfill. So the ultimate destination of our solids that we generate is the landfill.
And the landfill, what's the state?
That's an excellent question, and I think Kathy can answer that.
So what they do with it at the landfill, they use it in the cells as part of the cover. And so it goes in the landfill and is used as cover in the cells. They call them cells, is where they dump your trash. And when a cell is full, they cover it over. I think I explained it. That's what they use. They use it as cover in the landfill. Do you have another question? I mean, this is a good time. Any questions is not a dumb question.
Well, I guess you'll probably at some point get to it, but when it comes to like you're talking about restaurants, local restaurants. So if they have, let's say a local restaurant, they have their own grease hauler. So they're not really dumping grease into anything inside the restaurant, but they have a container supplied by the grease hauler, and it goes into that, and a grease hauler comes once every week or however many times and picks it up. Inside the restaurant, like in the drain where they wash the dishes and things like that, they have a device that traps the grease and things like that so that it doesn't go down into the sewage. So would they be in compliance with anything that would impact the fog?
Mr. Rasavi, could you answer that?
That's why our inspector, Rich, and them are coming out to look, and they have visited some sites, not all of them yet, because there's quite a few more to go. But they'll come and look at it to see if you're in compliance. If there's not, they'll make some suggestions, giving you a written report if something needs to be improved upon, or they find something that's a problem. Then they'll address it, and you'll be given an opportunity to correct it. You know, our objective is not here to punish people. Our objective is to get everybody in compliance and working, so we don't encounter the problems that you've seen on the screen.
No, and that definitely needs to be taken care of.
Right, and so
And not continue to be hindered.
right, and we've provided a list of approved devices and so forth, and it's not solely on the basis of the volume of water you use, but there are other factors too. And there's a sheet that you actually or have your plumber, I guess, work on, and you work together in completing that to define the equipment that's fairly precise in for your particular set of circumstances. Because if it's too small, you're going to have it pumped more times. It's going to cost you more money. So you want it sort of right sized for your particular operation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? One other thing I want to point out, and another thing it's striking to think of, is for these violations, the potential is, until we correct the TCAN and the nutrients, is $32,000 a day. So think about that. $32,000 a day the Service Authority could incur if the nutrient levels stay high. We've been in contact with DEQ. We're having a meeting with them tomorrow to try to show what we've been doing so that we could show them we're on the right path. It's just, unfortunately, over the years, there's been some inattention on the Service Authority side. And so we're trying to be on the good side of DEQ and to show them all the work that everyone in this room, our staff in Bowdoin, Norm, our new county administrator, myself, and our board of directors, Lee and our board of directors is here in the audience, is to show what we've been doing. We are trying to do not the right thing, but the correct thing to do to be in compliance and not in violation as in the past we've been. So is there any other questions just from Bowdoin? We have more information there. There'll be time for some Q&A at the end. Do you have a question, sir?
Actually not. Okay, sorry. Actually not. We have the hotel here, like we are new ownership, and we are the first time basically to attend this kind of meeting. And we need to understand for our own business what basically the best practices in order to go into compliance.
Right.
So I'm not sure if we can come later on, and we got like.
We could do that at the end.
All right. Thank you then.
Yep,
Thank you.
no
I
problem.
appreciate it.
All right, we're going to move on then to we already talked about the impact of the wastewater systems from the fog, but we're going to go on to the software that we've purchased, and that's Mr. Dines. So and we're waiting a second. So I just wanted to highlight those violations in the map so you could just see the seriousness of it. And so we're trying to make sure that, you know, we get a lot of complaints about the bills, to make sure that we don't raise bills, it stays the way it is when we don't get violations. So we're trying
For the file.
a DEQ. Yep. But Rich, do you want to give a little more? Well, Rich is our inspector. He's going to be coming to the establishments to check it out. He has a tablet and software. Chris knows more about the software to be able, he's our IT director. So Mr. Dines, can you take it away?
Certainly, Ms. Bender. So since I am the IT director here in the county, our county administrator and our fog king over there co-opted me to present to you all. So you already know about the basic that Mark and Bowden and Ms. Bender already showed you. I'm going to get down to the things that will be available on the site. So we procured a company called Right Way Compliance Group, and they're based out of Ohio, and they have worked on many counties, even in Virginia, Stafford, Fairfax, and all over the country. And so they're like one of the leaders. It was a very easy, cost beneficial for us. It's very cheap for this. And so what they do is they supply a portal dashboard that all of you will be able to access. Now, if everyone filled out their name on this sheet, I don't know if the gentleman in the back filled his out yet. Sure. So with that, that will be the way the staff enters you into the database. And I guess John Eisenbeis back there might be involved in that, or maybe Richard himself. And they will also go around to each restaurant, as you have heard that they've already been to a bunch of them. So, but that's a way we want to get everybody to sign in here. And so this way you will get access to the online portal. So they'll send you an invitation to the email that you put on that form. And they will ask you to fill out the sheet. The service authority, like I said, will enter your information, and you'll receive a secure link to your email address. And that way you will have a link, and you will start to set up your restaurant into the database. So when you get in, the first one will be, you'll have like a generic password, then you can change it to whatever you like. But you don't have to worry about, it's a secure site, but don't worry about the information there. All it is the things about your restaurant and your potential things that you need to do to maybe get it in accordance with what everything should be with this process. So unless someone has a thing for restaurants, you're gonna be okay. You don't have to worry about your personal information. So this is what it'll look like once you've gone in and set up your initial login. Very easy. And then once you get in, you will see right here, like I could click on there for the store list. And that will be, since I'm like part of the management, mine's a little different than what you will see as restaurant owners. But I had that I was going to bring up, because when you click on the store list, if I clicked on store list, you would see the stores that they've already put in. They put in 7-Eleven, Chick-fil-A, and all those, some of those already. They just populated that when we first started talking to them, and they did a sweep to see what restaurants were in the county. And you will be able to get to all of your details, like you see here, there was a listing of what they put in initially. And when you want to go in, you can click on this action, and it will show all of the details of your restaurant. And through that also, if you have a hauler already for your grease, you can put that in the system. Will they recommend some people that do that grease hauling as well?
There's a list of recognized companies that the county has already had implemented and installed in there. You can pick one from there. A couple of them are from Manassas. There's one from Stafford. Most of the restaurants around are electing to go with the one from Stafford. Basically, when I'll come around to your restaurant to help you get started up, we'll create a profile, put the main contact, their email, all that good stuff. What type of trap or interceptor you have at your restaurant. And once we do that, it'll send an automated message to whatever email. Then at that time, you'll be able to go in, like Chris said, and log in. It has training, 3 different modular training classes. It even also has the signs that you need to place over top of your sinks and what have you. You can download them from there, make copies of them from there. So it's very user friendly. I've been around to quite a few restaurants. I haven't been to all because it takes a little bit to get everybody signed in. But once you get signed in, you'll be able to access everything. The good thing about this is once you pick the company that you're going to have hauling and servicing your facility, not only will it send you an email, it'll send me an email, and it'll send that company an email letting us know when it needs to be serviced, when it's been serviced. Once they service it, the company will upload, because they'll have access to the portal as well. Upload your service ticket, and we'll all be able to access it. We'll all be able to see it. It'll give you like a red light. You'll get like a red warning email stating, hey, your system needs to be serviced. And that email, like I said, it goes to me, you, and the service company. So it's very user friendly. It isn't something that you have to keep mind of. It will keep track of it for you.
If everybody's notified, including the grease hauler, say the grease hauler for some reason doesn't come by within what you would consider a timely fashion, who's held accountable for that?
It would ultimately be the restaurants, because you're responsible for the grease from the time it is serviced all the way till it is properly disposed of. So, in all actuality, you're hiring the service company. So he's an entity of the restaurant. That's nothing that we can't recommend. We can just give you a list of who does it. I will never recommend what company to use, because that's to me that's conflict in business interest. That's showing favoritism. I'll allow you to pick which one you want out of the list. I'll sit down with you and I'll show you the list of all the companies that are already in the system.
So that's like now taken up and put in the grease hauler's container that they provided. We don't have any other ownership or function of that container.
Well, normally
So is it once it goes in that container, or?
Technically no, but once it's pumped in the truck, you normally don't have anything to worry about unless you hire Joe Schmo trap and interceptor cleaner, and he comes out with a rusty truck because you're trying to save a couple bucks, opposed to a legitimate company. A lot of people in other counties, they permit them to clean it themselves and dispose of the fat, oil, and greases. I don't think we're allowing that at this time. There may be something down the road in the future, but as of right now, you are required to use a creditable company that the county suggests.
Yeah.
Just before you continue, Chris, get back to your question 1 sec. Norm, could you explain that? I gave you a piece of paper. There is another alternative. Could you explain?
There is a, one of our folks at the landfill said there is a company that I think we passed out that will bring and set a box for free for you to put your fats and grease and so forth in, and then they will pump it and so forth. But one thing these grease haulers are they're gonna be very careful because it's a violation of federal law. And you don't want to get introduced to the U.S. attorney, where there have been some instances in Tennessee where some of these haulers have dumped it directly back into a sewer system, and they got introduced to the federal judges and U.S. attorney and were convicted. So they consider it to be a very serious matter. And so, most of them are going to hire a legitimate company. They're going to come pump it out and do what they need to do.
Chris? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm from Dunkin' Donut, and we have a store also in Fredericksburg. And Fredericksburg, they already started this FOG EMP. They said when I called them for how to upload the invoice, because they didn't told us how to do that before like this. I called them and they said the company who does clean your tank, they should do upload all the documents. So we don't have to worry about anything. And I used to have a every 6 month cleaning program signed with them, and the city said no, you have to do every 3 months because of the requirement. So we did already every 3 months now, but they keep sending a reminder that you still need to, keep cleaning your tanks and all that. They said the company who does, they should upload the invoices and all that, but they say no, we don't do that. And it is honestly is very hard right now, managing all the stores and upload all the invoice one by one and everything. Basically, by timely manner is very hard. Yeah, like American Tank, that what I use from
Yes.
I think Stafford. I think they have office,
Okay.
but they say they don't. No, they don't do that.
Well, you get a copy of a receipt that they've
Right? Yeah.
done it. So I assume that would be acceptable that you could upload that then yourself if your hauler does not, I guess, be agreeable to do it.
Okay. Sure.
In your restaurant, you need to keep a log. That's a paper stating what days they come and clean it, company name, and if they'll sign it for you, great. If not, as long as you have it documented on August 27th, A&A Septic and Track Cleaning came out and cleaned it. You keep a log of that, you keep it posted. I'll come in and I'll look at it and I'll take a photo of it stating the last time it was required within that 3-month period. Yes. Yes, I'm gonna check the log. It's not just once you get logged, once you get your profile set up and you watch the 3 modules, it isn't just about the traps and the pipes. You need other things for like your sinks. You need screens in all sinks. You need to have signs posted, no grease, no fat, properly technique of how to wash all dishes. All them signs are in this system that you'll be able to once you get your profile created, you'll be able to print out and hang up. Now you will be required to put over top of every sink, over every top of sink. Not, I mean, if you got a 2-bowl sink, you only need 1 sign. But if you have a sink here, a sink over here, and a sink over here, you're gonna need 3 signs, three sets. They are required to be posted at all times. I'll be checking the piping leading to the traps and the interceptors to make sure they're the right diameter to handle the capacity of fat oils and greases that are going into them. So it's not just opening it up, looking in. Okay, there's fat and grease and oil in there. There's, you know what I mean. It's more to it than that, and it all explains it to you in these videos. So once I get to you and I get you set up, you'll be able to go in. There's a little tab in there, like Chris was showing you. It'll say training. You click on that. It'll show you all the training. It'll have the different signs that you need in English and Spanish. So if you want to hang off, both languages, that's fine. But it will be required to have them up. And once you get in the system, it's very user friendly. So, and I will walk through. My goal is to come to each restaurant and set your profile up with you and walk you through it, discuss it with you, answer more questions in detail. So that way, once I leave, you'll know how to use the system. You'll know how to upload and put anything that you need to put in there. Some companies, like you said, that they don't upload the tickets. If they give you a copy of it, it's very easy to take a photo and attach it to it. There's certain sections, and then that way, once you attach it to it, and I come to your restaurant, I'll be able to see it. Okay, they were here a month ago. They cleaned it. Then we'll open the interceptors, the traps, check them out, check the piping, make sure the piping diameter is leading to it is sufficient. Make sure that all your signs are up. Make sure that all your sinks, the drains have the screens in them to catch all the extra fat, oils, and greases and scraps of food. And then your floor drains, make sure that they're all nice and clean. There's no damage to the lid, to the screen part, the strainer part of it. It's not just what goes in the septics. There's also a lot of restaurants have greasy floors when they're mopping the floors at nighttime. So if you're not extracting it, you're just basically pushing it down that floor drain. When it goes down that floor drain, it ends up in the sewer system, and that's what we're trying to combat as well. For instance, a lot of people don't know this. Anything that's working, any type of cooking utensil, whether it's a frying pan, a wok, a spatula, a knife, anything that you're using that's being used with food, fat, oils, and greases, should not be cleaned over 140 degrees. I didn't even know that until I watched these videos, because anything hotter than that will turn it into a liquid. You want to try to keep it a solid, while you're washing it, so you can properly dispose it. Because once it goes down the drain, like Mr. Mark said, somewhere down the line it's going to turn back into a solid. So,
Okay, so you're assuming that everybody's tech savvy, has computers, know how to do all this stuff. Number one. Number two, if they're not tech savvy and they don't have a printer and all that, how do they get these signs?
most of the restaurants that I've been to who don't have access to a printer, I've already made copies of the signs and I keep
Okay.
them in my truck.
Oh, good.
And I will give you however many
we need
yeah,
of each kind.
yeah,
Okay.
based on how many sinks you. So, soon I'm trying to get away with just giving one set of all the literature that needs to be hung. So that way, I mean, if you do need to make copies, you could go to, like, I don't know, some Office Depot or something, make copies, or somewhere like that,
Yeah,
But
we'll
other than
provide you the first copies. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Chris, did you want to explain?
So, okay. So, in reading all of this and talking about you're having to keep records and you're going to be coming in and looking at the records. So, the record you're talking about looking at then is the record that's kept on this log or any other kind of record.
The records that are kept on this log will be the service tickets and the service receipts that you get from whatever company.
Grease haulers or whatever.
But also, it requires you to keep on your wall of your restaurant a log of what day it was serviced.
Oh, okay. So you could
don't
just
have
go
to
look at that and say, okay, they
I can say,
did-
okay, yeah, because I'll look at what was uploaded from whatever company, disposal company, and then I'll come look at what you have written down on the thing. As long as they match, that's sufficient.
because okay, because that
And
was
the answer, not to cut you off, and to answer his question about companies saying that it ain't their responsibility to upload it. That's fine. If they don't want it, if they choose not to do it, get a copy of it, screenshot it, take a picture of it, and you can upload that picture of that service ticket into the portal yourself.
okay.
And then once you upload it, I'll be able to see it. The county will be able to see it. The the company that does the disposal will be able to see it, and you'll be able to see it.
All right, now, if they don't know how to upload something on this system, can they just keep a manual copy of the receipt
It-
and show you the folder?
I'll come by and show them how to do it. It's
Okay.
very easy. It's a green plus sign that says add photo. You push on it, and it'll bring up.
And a snapshotting it.
No, you got to take you'll use your camera on your phone, take a picture of it, save it to your camera roll. You'll hit the green button that says add photo. It'll pull up your camera roll. Then you just tap that picture and download it, and it's there.
Okay.
It's there, and it's there forever. So it's
Because
very, very
it
user
was
friendly.
kind of misleading because you were saying what like the restaurant, all FSEs have to keep all these records and everything, or they're going to be in violation. But then you also said that, like in this case, the brief haulers had to keep records as well, or they'd be in violation.
So they don't keep records. They keep a service ticket of what they came and cleaned. They do that for their own purposes of getting, they have to show what they did to charge you for.
And you all will also check with them to make sure they're,
If they don't upload it, I won't check with them. I'll check with you. That's why it'll be your responsibility to get a screenshot of it or a copy of it. And when I come around, if you don't have it uploaded, that's fine. If you have just a paper copy, that's fine. I'll when I get there, I'll have no problem screenshotting it and uploading it for you.
okay,
At the time of inspection.
okay. Thank you.
Chris, you want to continue?
What is the time frame in which we're expected to implement this? What are the consequences of being in violation? Or
Once I visit your restaurant and I get your profile set up and we walk through and I'll perform an inspection. I'll perform an inspection that day. I'll let you know what the do's and don'ts are, what's good, what's bad. From that point, based on that inspection, if you pass, it'll be every 3 months from there that I'll be out. If you fail, I'll probably come back within 2 weeks, give or take, and you'll be obligated to correct those issues at that time within them 2 weeks. And then once you have them issues corrected, it'll be 3 months from there. Hopefully we can get to a point where it doesn't have to be. Once we get this combated, we're starting to see results down at the treatment plants and the facilities that the counties, that we take responsibility for. Hopefully we can move it to 6 months. Other counties around here only do fat oils and grease inspection once a year. They're larger counties and they have, they have the means to do that. As of right now, we need to combat this ASAP.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It's going to be a joint effort, so you won't be all by yourselves. You're going to have your hauler and the county will help you out to get through all of this because it's for the benefit, as they said, for everyone. So, good questions. So this is just the more basic bunch of information that we'll have, like the detailed profiles of all your facilities, all the pumping companies, the disposal facilities. It's just more information for you. Again, mainly to track the sewer system overflows in our wastewater treatment plants. And this is what Richard was talking about, all the training resources that you have. So you see you have training modules to include the Library of Best Management training videos, fog management checklists, group and individual training with certifications, hard copies of the training materials so you can keep, and as Richard said, the instructional kitchen signage. So all that's part of the package, as he said. So it's just more on the mandate for the control programs that are going on nationwide. And they also will have a comprehensive written best management plan so you can abide by that plan and make sure you'll never be out of compliance. And the separation device from the cleaning log records, again, the licensed waste hauler profiles, corrective action assistance, and the training personnel. Also, with the Right Way company, they will help as well. So I didn't leave their name on for any questions you might have. Most of the things I think Richard and John will be able to answer, and our Fog King, but mainly I have Richard's information down here if you have any questions. And also on the website, you will find things with some explanations. I don't know how many people use the website. Anybody? Never go on the website? Got to go on the website, people. We have a lot of information there for you. So there's a link there. If you go into the Service Authority page on the website, and there's explanations, the guidelines that Ms. Bender was talking about earlier, and this presentation here. And we'll put all the other ones up there as well. So I guess that's about it. That's all I had.
Dines. Our next thing on our agenda was what is required of your business, but we kind of already covered that. And this will also be uploaded to YouTube on our King George County official content page. Oh, it's live now, but it'll be there archived. We do get a lot of viewers afterwards. We have everything from the Service Authority in the county going back to January of 2020. So if you got a lot of time on your hands, and I mean some of those meetings, a lot of time on your hands to watch it, you can see anything and hear the history, at least going back to 2020. I know there's a couple other meetings from the past, but that was a long time ago. But this is a Q&A too. I know we've already jumped in and asked a lot of questions. Does anybody have any other questions? If not, we'll wrap it up. And then if you have any private questions just about your business, we can chat. Is there anybody that has any questions in the audience? Nope, it's okay.
So this when the dashboard portal, only the restaurant, but we need, okay. But you know what, like no other restaurant can see our restaurant.
Hold on, I'll give Rich, I'll let you in.
Correct. That's why I'm coming around to set up a profile. And once I set up your profile, that'll be the only thing that you can access. Everything pertaining to your restaurant. So, because you won't have the credentials to log into another profile that email was sent to that owner. So,
Let us know when you come into our store so that way we can prepare for it. I mean,
that's unfeasible. I mean, there's 55 to 60 restaurants in the county. I started one in and work to let you know exactly what day and what time I'm going to be there. At this time, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't want to miss you.
Oh, no. I understand. I will be able to give you a definitive date if you fail. It will be 2 weeks from that day that I will be back. I plan on coming to your restaurant before the end of this week to set you up on the portal as well and do a re-inspection from the past inspection we did 2 weeks ago. I'm going to also go to this couple right here to their restaurant to get them set up. That's your Bob. This team.
Coming to Uncle Dave's restaurant?
From my knowledge, Uncle Dave's will be exempt because you're not on the county sewer service.
So that's something else we need to point out, that this only, and those watching online, this only applies to those restaurant and businesses identified that have fats, oils, and grease, because there's also car washes and like paint, people that do a lot of paint. It's only those that go into the public sewer system. So if you're on the Service Authority. But for those restaurants not, it is a good informational session so that you know what it. Go ahead, ma'am.
From what I'm seeing, they're compliant and they have their own grease haulers. They have their things in the grease traps and things to keep it from going down the where they wash dishes and stuff like that. So if they're exempt, then they don't need to worry with the portal or any of that, right?
Now, just to add on to what you're saying, I've seen their recyclable bin outside for their oil, but that's not the only thing. They also have grease traps and interceptors inside the kitchen that they want to maintenance because ultimately, ultimately that'll ruin your septic field. So
Yeah, because even if you're not in a system, it will damage your personal septic field. So you don't want that either. I guess, even myself being in this, I didn't realize how much damage it can do. It's kind of alarming, especially when you see all those pictures. Does anybody have any other questions that they want to share with the YouTube world? And if not, we'll wrap it up. And if you have private questions, we'll be here for a little while to answer your questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Hold on one second.
A website or like a web application or a mobile app? Okay.
Yes, it is a website. So any other questions? All right. Thank you, everyone here. Oh, Mr. Wasabi, you have one more parting thought?
If you run into any problem or any of your colleagues in any other restaurants, just give us a call because our objective is to try to help you and be successful in implementing this program. So if something comes up, no matter how stupid you may think the question, feel free to call the authority or somebody and we'll get our heads together and try to come out and help you.
We're here to be a cooperative team to get together. This is a new program. I know for some it's a shock to the system, but we're all trying to work together to keep our plants in compliance and to keep the bugs happy and to at least get Perkins through to the end before we can take it online. And remember, even though we're going to take Perkins offline and Oakland Park, anything that happens there will be passed through the hop yard because that's where the flow is going to go. So we want to make it sure that when we're going from 5 to 3 plants, those 3 plants still don't have problems. So this is really important. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us and we'll answer. You got one more question, ma'am? You are the question lady.
No, I'm sorry, but and this now doesn't apply to us, but I thought just for the others. How realistic is it in the paperwork and all that I read, talking about the training? First, I kind of thought it was going to be some kind of one-on-one or a group training session. Now I'm hearing it's going to be on the portal. Okay, and then you get certification, is what I read. And then it said in there that a person that was certified has to be within the premises at all times during business hours. How feasible is that?
on the portal, there's 3 modular videos that you watch. Once you watch them videos, it'll give you a little questionnaire. Once you read that, you're basically safe. You'll know. Now it's required that everybody that's working in the kitchen, not for y'all because y'all aren't on the subject, but it is required. It is required for everybody that works in the kitchen that handles food to watch these trainings and to be certified. So from the dishwasher to the cook, everybody has to be certified.
Where it's stated that someone has to be on the premises at all times. That's really not. Well, I mean, you have to have more than one person.
Absolutely. Everybody that works in the kitchen needs to be certified. So you'll always have.
And remember,
Yeah.
these are easy videos.
Yeah, it's on. The videos are only 5 minutes, and it's real easy.
Incredible. Well, that was a good interlude.
In the next few minutes, you'll probably watch, human pupils.
Oh, there we go. Here's a video. It even has a
Does
cute little
anyone know
frog.
what FOG BMP stands for? Okay, well, FOG stands for fats, oils, and
But the whole point is, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's just like videos you would have to watch at a work place that you have to watch over and over again to be sort of. It's the same kind of thing. It's important, but it at least shows that you've looked at it and understands the importance. So we're going to wrap it up. And if you have any other specific questions, we'll be here to ask them. We only have to vacate here by 6 o'clock because there's another meeting. So we will be here for at least another 45 minutes. So Those of us that watch this online, thank you very much. If you have any questions, contact the Service Authority. Thank you. Have a good night.